clearly it is appalling that these students have the arrogance to think that they are in a position to call for the sacking of a member of staff for her views, and actually that they will remain unpunished, which, as far as I understand at this moment of time, they are. They are anonymous. They don't give their names. They are calling for her to be sacked. And as I understand it, the University of Sussex has not, as yet, taken any action other than to put out a statement saying that they welcome debate and that they don't suppress free speech. But the issue is that there is never a debate, because the kinds of claims these anonymous students have made about Professor Stock are unsubstantiated. They say that she's a danger to trans people, that she's transphobic, but they never actually give evidence, unless the evidence is that we all have to comply with the idea that a woman is somebody who can be a man who calls himself a woman, and that that is sufficient, and that we must never question that doctrine. So if that statement itself, that a woman is actually a biological adult human female, is a threat to trans people, then I'm afraid the majority of the population also agree with Professor Stock and myself that people are divided into two different sexes, male and female, and the political consequences that follow.
Don't go anywhere, Heather. I'm just going to read out the Sussex University statement, which they've posted on Twitter. They say, "We were extremely concerned to see the harassment towards our staff member and took immediate action in response to this," which continues. "We're deeply committed to being a safe and inclusive university. Our role as a university is to facilitate complex discussions to advance shared understanding and common agreement. We insist that these are carried out respectfully, without bullying or harassment. We will always take swift action when this occurs." I mean, they don't seem to be taking swift action if people are, you know, calling for this woman to lose her job and setting off smoke bombs. It seems very excessive for what a lot of people watching might think is a niche issue.
Well, it isn't a niche issue, because apparently our political leaders themselves can't openly defend the biological empirical fact that women are adult human females. And there's nothing transphobic about pointing out biological reality. So what seems to be a niche issue is, in fact, you know, capturing all political parties, the debate, and it's very worrying, actually, for democracy that that I agree that these are the views of a tiny minority of people, but this tiny minority of people are somehow managing to get themselves into the public domain and to be making people afraid of speaking out, whether it's academics, politicians, or whomsoever. I expect a majority of people who are listening to this or watching this program will themselves be afraid to say too much in the public domain unless they are tarred as being a bigot and a transphobe. So this is more than a niche area. I think the public needs to become aware of the fact that this is a bullying campaign which is helping to transform our institutions, our laws, medicine, and so on. It's quite serious. But as far as the University of Sussex is concerned, and I'm not privy to what they've actually done this afternoon, but as far as I understand it, they've allowed a academic who employed at the University of Sussex to come out in support of these students, which is really harassment to Professor Stock. But also, they do claim that it's a university in which there can be open debate, the sharing of ideas, but I'm afraid there isn't, because the kinds of people who hide in the shadows and won't give their names, just give slurs, which are completely unsubstantiated. There's nothing that Kathleen Stock has ever said that would put a trans-identified person in danger. Absolutely nothing. But these people will not say what it is that she's actually said. So there isn't debate. It's incumbent upon the University of Sussex to invite debate. And if there is a complaint against Professor Stock, would these people please come out of the shadows and say explicitly what she has said, what they allege her to have said? And can there be an open debate rather than the authorities running scared? You know, this is dangerous for all of us when authorities, whether it's universities, whether it's doctors at gender identity development clinics, whomsoever, whether it's politicians, when people are scared of the slur transphobia, something is seriously going wrong with our society. We need to examine it.
We do indeed, and this show is very keen on doing that on a regular basis. So let's unpack this issue, because it's something I know a lot about and feel quite passionately about, as do you. And it's something that a lot of people might not understand, why we've had the leader of the Labour Party quizzed over whether, human adult female has a cervix, and, even our own Prime Minister struggling to actually find a solid position on all this. So let's unpack what is going on here. What is it that Kathleen Stock might have said that has caused such outrage? It's essentially the fact that, she's uncomfortable with the idea of men being able to just nominally identify as women and by doing so access female intimate areas. Is that the gist of it?
Well, I'll try to say in a nutshell what she says. Firstly, Kathleen Stock is very sympathetic to trans-identified people. She absolutely recognises that some people wish to identify themselves in whatever gender they want to identify with. This is not her problem. I'm speaking for her, of course. She may say something different, may say something a little bit more moderate than I would say. But her basic argument is that it's simply when a man, a male-bodied human being, fully intact, can declare himself to be a woman and thereby enter spaces such as women's prisons, be housed in women's prisons, even though he may be in prison because he's committed rape, but now identifies as a woman, or goes into all of those spaces which the general public will understand are private spaces for women, women's hospital wards, all those areas where women are changing, sleeping, that women as a biological sex need to be protected. And unfortunately they do. We would all love to live in a world whereby there was no threats of violence towards women, but we don't live in that world. It is a reality that women are subject to male sexual violence, and it's obviously ridiculous to allow anybody just to self-identify into the class of women. There's a huge naivety around this, that just because somebody identifies as a woman, that this somehow makes him completely and utterly innocent. It cannot do so. Our laws don't operate on that basis. Our laws operate to protect people who might do harm. And
Heather,
women have been harmed by...
Heather, I agree personally entirely with everything that you've just said. So thank you so much for coming on and explaining that situation. I'm sorry if there are people out there who might have been offended by Heather or Kathleen Stock, but frankly, this is a conversation we need to have, and it's a conversation that seems to be getting out of control. And there are many women out there who are concerned about the impact of gender self-ID.
Welcome to the GB News YouTube channel. You can watch us live 24 hours a day, catch up on your favourite shows and join in the conversation in the comments below.
Don't forget to subscribe and you'll never miss any of our exclusive content.